Hi, let's make banana bread. This is a very simple recipe. In fact, it's called the ridiculously simple banana bread, but it gives you great results with basic ingredients for a beginner. And I'm an experienced home cook and I still make it and love it. So I'm hoping that you will try it and agree. First thing we need is our recipe. I have printed it out, but you'll notice that I have changed up a bunch of steps, and you should do this for any recipe to make it simpler for you. For example, first thing we're going to do for baking, let's turn on our oven. So we're going to turn it on to 350. Make sure that your rack is in the middle of your oven. Next thing that we want to do is we want to put it in a pan. I'm making a loaf pan because that's traditionally what banana bread is made with. But if you don't have a loaf pan, but you have a cake pan or you have muffin tins, you can use those as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is get mine. This is the pan that I always use, and I just spray it with cooking spray. This is my favorite. It's from Costco and it is very good price. I spray it over the sink because it sprays around and then I don't want it on my counter. It's easier to clean up out of the sink. So for people who follow me, they know first thing we do is we pull out every ingredient. And the recipe is below so you can follow along. First thing I know is I need flour. I need baking soda. I need table salt. I need eggs. And you'll notice that I'm not measuring as I go because first of all, I just want to make sure I've got everything before I go. Then I'll start the measuring process. So I've got my eggs. I need some cooking vegetable oil. Use vegetable oil. Olive oil probably isn't a good choice here. Oh, I need sugar. And I need 2 ripe bananas, which I have bananas over on the other counter. So I've got my bananas, and it calls for chopped nuts. I don't like nuts in my banana bread, so we're not doing that. Another reason I don't put them in is because it makes this less simple. If you want them to taste good, you want to toast the nuts, you have to chop them. It's just extra steps, it's extra messy, and we're going super simple with this recipe. So another reason I don't have to have nuts in my banana bread. So the next thing we need to do is we need to walk through the recipe and pull out all the utensils that we need. So it says flour and I weigh everything. So I'm getting my scale and I'm saying that you want to do this. My suggestion is always to weigh. If you don't, there will be measurements for using measuring cups, but I don't want to clean stuff. And it says to sift together. I don't do that anymore, I whisk. And it says we're gonna do the dry ingredients in a bowl. So I'm gonna get my bowl out, and I also know that there's a wet ingredient. I've done this before, so I know it. You'll notice I don't have fancy. I think this might be 45 years old. It's an old Tupperware. I don't know how long. And this is a very old bowl as well, but they work really well for me. And they go in the dishwasher, so that's perfect. Now I said, the recipe originally said to sift. We don't sift anymore. We whisk it because sifting is messy. Most people don't have a sifter, but you can have a whisk, and if you don't have a whisk, you can just use a fork. And where it says we're gonna mix some more things together, I do know that we're going to have to mash the banana. So I pull out my potato masher. If you don't have a potato masher, you can use a fork. Next thing that it says we have to do is we're gonna have to chop up the banana to get it easier to mash, and I use a regular knife. I know I'm gonna have eggshells and I'm going to have the banana peel, and we do composting, so I get the composter all ready to go. So now you're kind of going, oh, so much stuff, this is messy, but it's not, and I'm going to show you why, because we've got everything that we need and it makes it super simple. So now it's time to get making our banana bread, and I think you're going to see this comes together super quick. First off, I put my bowl onto my scale and turn it on. I know by using my conversion chart, and people will know this, and I'll put in a picture, but what you want to do is weigh out 178 grams of regular all-purpose flour. I've recently heard that people don't like to do the scale because they're worried about everything mixing up together. But when I pour the ingredients in, I make like a mound, and then I pull out what I want, so it's not touching each other. Oh, I need 178. There we go. 178. As I use things, I put them away because then I'll know if I don't forget anything. Oh, I need a teaspoon of baking soda. So I use this measuring spoon because it goes in the dishwasher. So I need 1 teaspoon of baking soda, which I will put away. My one change to this original recipe is I add 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And because this isn't a, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I use my 1 teaspoon measuring, and I look and make sure it's approximately 3/4. So do that. Then we can just pop this back in here, and I know I don't need this anymore, so I can throw it in my dishwasher. We use the dishwasher for everything because it makes life so much easier. So now you're gonna, instead of sifting and using that sifter and getting flour all over the place, you just give it a bunch of whisking. And we're good. The next thing we're going to do is we have to do our wet ingredients. Start with the eggs, which don't need to go on the scale. The reason I start with the eggs is because if there gets shell in here, or it gets, I get a bad egg, which doesn't happen but can happen, I know that I can fish it out and not mix up and mess up all the rest of the ingredients. So we will just do that. Now the eggs seem to make mess, so I just grab my cloth and wipe that up right away. I do have some flour here. Maybe I will grab that right away too. It's really great to keep your workspace clean. Now what I'm going to do is take my whisk out of my wet ingredients and just give these just a few seconds. It breaks them up a little bit, make sure they get mixed in, and I will put my eggs away. The next thing on the recipe is we need 1/2 cup of oil. Now, you can weigh this, but I think most people aren't going to weigh out the oil right into the eggs, because if they overweigh, that you can't really fish out. So let me grab my 1 cup measuring. And you just heard the beep from the oven, so our oven is preheated. That's great to know. And we just need 1/2 cup of our oil. Again, put it away, and we add this in. And this goes in the dishwasher. We don't need to do any mixing of this. The next ingredient that we have is 1 cup of sugar, and we know this to be 198 grams. This is where people will not want to weigh because they will be worried that they put in too much, and how do you get it out. But if you pour it into a little pile at the top, of course don't dump it crazy. But I've got enough of a pile that if I accidentally put too much in, which I'm not going to do, I hope. There we go, 198. And we can put this back in and give it a little bit of stir at this point before we get the bananas in, so it mixes up just a little bit. There is no more measuring, so we will wipe this off. Last ingredient that we have, bananas. So this recipe is great because it only calls for 2. We'll just get it done, and I sort of just slice it up like this. And there's number 2, and they can be any size. It's the knife to open it up. it looked darker. That's the great thing about this recipe is it doesn't care sort of what the size of the bananas are. It still turns out moist and banana-y, and this is where we use our potato masher. And these are dark bananas, so they mash really quickly and really easily, and soon, I mean, you can do them to a pulp, you can do them bigger pieces, however you like it, but this mashes very easily because this is what this was made for. Again, we'll just pop this into the dishwasher, and now what we do is we will mix the wet and the dry. Get it all out, and then you want to mix it. You can overmix, but what you want to do is mix it fairly quickly, and you can see I'm just using the whisk, which works really well, until you don't see any flour left. That's it. We're good to go. So where's our pan? We've got our pan over here. We will just pour it into our pan. Like, how quick was that? And we will pop this back into its home. And now this goes in the oven for, it says an hour. I'm checking this after 40 minutes. So I'm just gonna pop it in now. And we have a little bit of cleanup to do. And I just wanna show you everything because I think the cleanup is part of the problem is you go to make something and you don't realize how much cleanup's involved. And I want to show you by using limited tools, things that can go in the dishwasher, that you can have your house kept not a crazy mess. It's easy to clean up. There's not very much mess. And we're going to have banana bread. So stay tuned and we'll check it at 40 minutes. Our oven timer's gone, so we'll turn that off. We'll grab our oven mitts and a tester. I've got here a bamboo skewer, but you could use a toothpick or a paring knife, so any of those will work. Let's have a look. Ooh, it looks nice. We just poke it right in the middle. And if you can see close up, I don't know if it's gonna focus, but there's still gunk on there. Yummy gunk, because it smells fantastic. I just gave that a little turn. I'm gonna set the timer for another 5 minutes and we'll check on it then. Okay, here we go again with our timer. Let's have a look, see how we're doing. It looks really good. Smells fantastic. Sticking it in, and it came out clean this time, which means we're done. So we'll turn off our oven, and you're supposed to put it on a rack to cool for 10 minutes is what I do. I have just grates on my stove, so I just put it on there, but if you don't have that, you don't have grates, then pull out a rack that you can put it on. So we're gonna wait for our 10 minutes and we will be back. It's our timer going. I've grabbed the banana bread and the pan isn't too hot, and you just want to turn it out onto the rack to cool a little bit more. You can wait, I say, maybe give it 30 minutes and then it's perfectly good to eat. If you're going to keep it and not eat it all in one setting, then I would let it cool completely, and then you can slice it and then put it in the freezer. It's best coming straight out of the freezer. You can just defrost it on the counter for a few minutes and it will be great, or even better, toasted is fantastic. So there you go. I'm gonna cut it up in a few minutes after I've given it that weight, and we'll be right back with you. If you have a bread knife or a serrated knife, that's going to be the easiest to cut with, but any knife will work, and you can cut it as thick as you like, and this is what it looks like. Smells so good. Cannot wait to eat it. I hope you give this recipe a try. If you have any questions, please just let me know. Be happy to hear from you. Be happy to answer any questions. Here, until next time, keep cooking.